Welcome to another video, guys. Tonight I'm going to be talking about this piece from First Four Figures. It is the limited edition Lucky Cat Mario from the Nintendo Wii U game Super Mario 3D World. And there is quite a bit actually to talk about for this particular statue. I decided to choose this one because I just finished reviewing the old Sideshow Terminator 2 endoskull bust, and that was also chromed. And so while thinking about that and talking about how rare it is for any piece to be chromed, this came to mind. And this is, to my knowledge, like the only statue in the last several years, at least 5-6 years, that's basically, again, completely chromed. And there's quite a saga to go along with that. So before going into the close-ups, a little bit of background. In the game, Super Mario 3D World, Mario obviously can put on a whole bunch of different costumes like he does in many previous games. And the cat suit is one of the ones that they introduced for the game. But later on, you can get a version of the cat suit called a Lucky Cat suit. And it comes with some pretty amazing powers. First of all, it looks like it's basically gold. So it has this extra sheen that the regular cat suit does not. And then when you turn it into a statue, there's an ability to turn it into a statue. And if you do, you become essentially invincible. Everything basically bounces off of you or is destroyed. So it's a real cool suit, real cool power that you get later on in the game. And obviously First Four Figures wanted to do a homage to that. So they released a separate catsuit Mario, which is essentially this exact statue. But then as an extra chaser or an extra little kicker, they also released this version, and they decided to make it all chrome in honor of the Lucky Cat. Okay, now today First Four Figures has a very different way of selling their statues. They have like a certain window where anybody can order it. You can get different numbers. So basically they have a situation very similar to Sideshow and other companies now to try to maybe reduce a little bit of the scalping and the craziness, which is that if you really want the statue and you made plans for it, you're going to be able to get it. Now, if you snooze, you lose. If you, for whatever reason, decide not to get something, if you wait and the window passes, then that's too bad. It can get put on the wait list. And so I kind of like that because, that way, again, if you really want it, you have no one to blame but yourself if you don't get it. But for this particular one, for whatever odd reason, they decided not to do that. I think they released a ridiculously small number. I believe only 100 of them were released, and they just sort of made it available, I think, via one of their emails or newsletters, and it was for a pretty penny. I think it was for over $400, $450. And I'm not a big Mario collector, but when I saw the opportunity to get it, and I just happened to randomly open the email. I happened to just be awake or around. I opened it, took a look at it, followed the link. I was like, oh, yeah, this looks really neat. It looks really cool. And so, even as a non-collector of video game characters, let alone Mario, I just kind of thought about it. And I said, okay, it's quite a bit of money, but it is chrome. And so I pressed the trigger and I bought it. And apparently it sold out, within a couple hours. And so now this is an extraordinarily valuable piece. And First Four Figures, for a variety of reasons, will never, ever do something like this again. Obviously, there was a big outcry among the First Four Figures fan base because you can imagine, a lot of people missed out on it, and they weren't super happy about the manner in which they missed out. And so, that number one, they're never going to release just a limited hard edition of something this low. And then number two, there was a lot of problems with the production of the piece. So going into that in a little bit more detail, this statue took a couple years actually to deliver from announcement to actually being in hand. There were multiple delays. and the CEO or the president who was in charge, Alex Davis, did a great job keeping those of us who pre-ordered in the loop, being very upfront and transparent about the issues. And again, the issues relate to what I discussed in my other video about the endoscope chrome bust, which is that unless you're into making automotive parts, which no statue company is, it's a whole different ballgame trying to do chrome. And just to make it clear, when we say chrome, we're not talking about chrome paint. We're talking about like an actual, like physical, metallurgical process that I'm not very familiar with the details, but it involves electroplating, and it's like a big deal. And you're actually covering the statue with this material, and it's not paint. And once you do it, there's no going back. It's like an irrevocable step. Sometimes we have a statue, you paint it wrong, there's a mistake, blah, 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 there's a crack, there's damage, etc. You can strip the paint, you can go back and touch it up, you can paint over it, primer over it, repaint it. There's a lot of ways to save a normal painted statue. But with chrome, there is not. And they're only making 100 of these, right? And so when you're only making 100, you do actually have the ability to literally check every single one by one by one. You can't do that if you're making 1,000, or even 500 would be pretty laborious. But 100, you can absolutely do that. And from First For Figures point of view, this being sort of a flagship sort of piece, one of the most expensive and, again, one of their most hyped, they did that, and essentially the factory could not meet the quality demands. And what would happen essentially is when they were going through the chroming process, it was essentially impossible to prevent like these little tiny microscopic little bits of dust and lint or whatever it is in the air from settling on the pre-chromed statue. And then when you chromed it, you would find these little tiny imperfections. Now, they are very, very, very tiny. I don't think it's possible to prevent it, and Alex Davis said as much when they entered into discussions with the factory. Again, you would have to have it, in a factory for Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Teslas. I don't know what sort of weird vacuum condition you would have to create to prevent the absence of dust during this process. But suffice to say, we're talking about statues in the hundreds of dollars. And if we're buying it for $450, they're not making it for $450. We're not talking about automobile parts in the thousands, the tens of thousands. So this is again a whole different ballgame. They could not do that, and so they had to show us some of the examples and ask us if we were willing to live with the tiny imperfections and if we wanted to cancel. There was even some talk of canceling the entire run and just refunding us our money. And thankfully, the majority of those of us who ordered it decided to proceed. So this story kind of gives you that background, again, in terms of the difficulties and challenges of making something like this. And I have to give a lot of respect to Alex Davis and First For Figures for being, I guess, ambitious enough. I mean, they're a very, very ambitious company. So for them to be ambitious enough and maybe crazy enough, or is it just ignorant enough? I don't know. Maybe they'll comment on the video and they'll tell me their insight to try something this insane to begin with. Again, there's a reason why no other company, even Sideshow, who was here from the very beginning, they gave up on this. Nobody does this anymore. And it was a gigantic decision, even for, say, Cool Props, to decide to put chrome teeth. And I mean, think about it. Chrome teeth is nothing. It's just teeth in that alien Giger bust. Compared to an endoscope or to compare to this piece, chrome teeth is literally nothing. And there was a major decision for them to try to even achieve that. And so again, congratulations are in order. I did get it. I was over the moon when I got it in. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And I think it was well worth the wait. And again, Alex and First For Figures could have just taken a cheap route. They could have just sort of taken shortcuts, just put out the product, shrugged, but they realized how important it was, they realized the expense, they realized how few people bought it, and so they reached out, and they made that entire, again, process very, very positive. So I have to give them props for that. They are a good company, and they absolutely do try to do right by their customers, and they're learning, getting better all the time. And this is, again, I think one of their flagship pieces. They've been in the game for quite a while, but more recently they've gotten more and more popular, deservedly so, and they've sort of taken their ambitions to the next level. So more and more ambitious pieces are coming. But this is always going to be, I think, special for the company and special for the collectors who do have it. So here we go. Let's close up. So this is the let me see if I can focus it. Yeah, so this is the actual Cat Mario himself. The entire piece is chromed, as you can see. And they decided to use just these various shades of gold and silver. It looks great. The Terminator, of course, just has, the regular one color, but this one has many different types of colors. It reflects the light very nicely. I have the flash on to just kind of maximize it. You can actually see my glove. It's a mirror sheen. Looking really close. I hope you can actually see this little effect here. So on the Terminator, they have the rainbow effect, and over here they managed to create these little symbols on the back as well. So it's just gorgeous. The mustache, the eyes, so everything is chromed. It really does, if you touch it with your hand, it really just feels like metal. You just can't, you can't duplicate or replicate this by painting. You just can't. So now I'm gonna try to get close up and show you maybe some defects. I'll be real honest with you. I mean, you have to go super close to get an idea. You can see that I'm just, in my undershirt, pretty comfortable. I'm doing this at night. But honestly, I couldn't really find anything ridiculous. I mean, maybe a little spot here or there, but no horrible scratches or any ridiculous defects. The face, of course, is very good as well. They actually took the time to inspect every single piece by hand to get the ones that look the best. I guess if you looked really closely here on the inside, there might be a little bit of imperfections. But again, I mean, absolutely nothing to impact the piece in any way. Mine is number 77, by the way, out of 100, which I think is quite appropriate for the whole lucky cat thing. Again, I mean, it's a simple statue, but the fact that the entire thing is chromed and the different types of color and the sheen and the rainbow effects just makes it remarkable. And I have no idea, guys, why it's having such a hard time focusing it. At least from my end, it looks a little bit blurry sometimes, but maybe it's just the light reflecting off of the surface. But again, here it is. Now I'm going to take him aside, put him on the side here. And then I'm going to put this in. This is the companion piece. So this is the actual power up that gives you the lucky cat in the game. So you see him on the block. So the idea is, you activate the block and this thing pops up, and that gives you that. So it's cute, the two of them next to each other. And I realize again that this is just completely insane, but I mean, a part of me thinks that it would be just so amazing if they chromed that too, right? Like here you have the gold chromed Lucky Cat Mario. How amazing would it be if they were able to chrome this, but just with a darker bronze? But Alex Davis and the crew will probably just like kill me, right? To think like they went through so much to get this done. Just the idea of this would just be ridiculous. I mean, would you pay $1,000 for both to be chromed like that? I would, but I don't think there's many who would. So I'm happy with what I got. Here they go. So I'm going to take him off I'll take him off of the rotating Lazy Susan. Just put them side by side so that they're supposed to look basically like this. Okay. Focus in on that. So not a lot of YouTube videos on this particular piece. I guess there's a limited market for them maybe, but yeah, what's out there? There's really nothing. There's one little 30-second clip when this was being shown off at some trade show, and then there was the IGN one that they got, I think, a year earlier. But really, I mean, well, I guess if you think about it, there's only 100 collectors out there who own this piece, and out of those 100 collectors, how many of them are inclined to make a YouTube video talking about it? So maybe that explains it. But for what it's worth, okay, here it is. If you really want to get an idea of what it looks like, hopefully I did manage to show that to you, give you some nice detailing and all of that. But it is absolutely beautiful. And they're selling on eBay, I think, for quite a lot. I mean, there's only 100, so how many of them could there really be to sell? If you're able to get one of these and you're willing to spend the money, then you will not regret that. Just because hopefully from this video, you'll be able to get an idea of how great this looks, and also the background, which is that you're never going to get another piece anything like this again. There's a reason why companies simply will not do chrome effects. Way too costly, not worth it, and always a quality control disaster. So a minor miracle that this piece actually made it into collectors' hands in the first place. Very happy and very grateful about that. So until next time, take care, guys.